back to Daily Sews and Stuff. So if you remember a few months ago, I did an interview with Charlotte Curtis, who created the PDF Stitcher. You can see that video up here if I'm pointing in the right place. And then I did a video on a tutorial for the PDF Stitcher. It is an app that she created. It is amazing. It works on Windows and Macs. It allows you to make letter or A4 size patterns available for projecting. However, because she is a genius, she has gone on to add several new features that do awesome things. So you can still stitch A4 and letter size patterns together into one big pattern. You can still add borders around it. However, you can now work with the layers to only show certain layers that you want to show. You can also work with it where you change the line thicknesses or even the line styles and line colors. There's a ton of new features that were added that are so helpful. So I am doing a new tutorial. This is going to be PDF Stitcher Part 3, and we're going to look at all the new features. I'm also going to go ahead and go back to the beginning of how to download it, because on my last video I wasn't very clear about which download is for Windows and which download is for Mac. So I will go through that part again of the downloading, and then I will show you all the new features and all the new ways that you can use the new PDF Stitcher. I'm so excited, guys.
Okay, so as always, I need to preface this by saying I use Windows 10. And if you have a Mac, then you can sort of follow along with what I'm doing, but there will be some slight differences. I'll try to note where they are, but I may not always get that right. But if you are on any Windows computer, you will be very similar to what I'm doing. And Linux, PDF Stitcher does not work on Linux yet, but they're working on it from what I understand. And there are some workarounds that I am not techie enough to explain to you. However, if you use Linux, you probably know them already. Alright, so we're going to download the new PDF Stitcher. And it has some really exciting updates and some really awesome things we can do now. But first we need to get rid of the old PDF Stitcher. Now the awesome thing about PDF Stitcher is it's not truly installed on your system, so you don't have to go through the whole uninstall process. You can right click and go down to delete, or just pick it up and drag it to the recycle bin. And it's gone. So the next thing we need to do is download the new one. We're going to open up our internet browser. I use Chrome, and I'm going to type PDF Stitcher. Actually, it filled it in for me right there. pdfstitcher.org. That is Charlotte's new website, and it is a beautiful, lovely little landing page here. So I'm going to tell it to download Windows, because that's what I have. Mac, you're right here. Super obvious and easy for y'all. And I'm really sorry I wasn't clear in the last video, because I certainly was not. So that's downloading to my desktop. I'm just having it save as a pdfstitcher.exe. And we can scroll down, we can see the old video. It's a little blurb right now about it. And then here's her GitHub. Now, if we go and we click on this contribute, there's actually several different things you can do. You can help with translations, with bug reports, lots of options here besides the donate, but there is the donate option here if that's what you'd like to do. And then if you click on the video tutorials, you get me right here, and you get a Dutch version right here. Alright, so right here, we've got the PDF Stitcher, the new version, and we know it's a new version because when we open it, well, first of all, we get to go through this stuff again. Alright, so Charlotte is not a registered app designer, so whether you are on Windows or Mac, your computer will try to protect you. But we know that this is the PDF Stitcher from Charlotte Curtis. She's in our Facebook group. I've done an interview with her that you can watch. We know this isn't a virus. So we're going to go ahead and allow this to run on our computer. So On Mac, there is a whole nother set of instructions you need to follow, and you can find those instructions in the um, in the guides that are in the announcements of the Projectors for Sewing group. If you are on a Windows like I am, it's just like this. You click More Info, and the problem is that it's an unknown publisher, but we know who she is, so we're going to tell it run anyway. And that's it. You only have to do that the very first time that you open it. Every other time, it will just automatically open. Here, let's just do it right now. See, automatic opening. So we know this is the new version, not only because we had to go through that step, but because once it opens, it says version 4 right there. It's got the cute little icon right there. And we have more options than we had before. We've got a file tab now. Open, save, and quit. And then we've got these tabs that gives us even more options than we had before. And we also can minimize or maximize our window and then close our window. So some fun new little changes to the graphic interface, but what's super, super exciting is now what this can do. It is so much more powerful now than it was before. And I am constantly impressed by how smart Charlotte is and how much she has gotten figured out. All right, enough fangirling. Let's do the next thing. So I'm not going to completely reinvent the wheel here. I've already got my other tutorial up that shows you how to actually stitch a pattern together. So I don't want to go over that in quite as much detail this time. However, I do want to show you all the very cool new features. And so a little bit of that will come back into play. So the PDF Stitcher, which after you open it the first time, the icon comes here, and I love it. This first options looks very similar. We're going to select our input PDF, just like we did before. I'm going to do a girl pattern, mostly because I have a lot of little Lizard King patterns, and they need some help a lot of times. So one of the things that they really need help with is you can't, and you can see I've already got a lot of stitched files there, but that's okay. We'll work with it anyways. A lot of little Lizard King patterns are locked, and you're not able to highlight what size you need in the size chart, which is unfortunate for me because I generally have kids that are all over the place, and I want to be able to highlight their sizes and decide where I'm going to grade things. So that highlight button doesn't work right now. If we make this full screen, you can see not working. So I want to first make it where I can mark up my pattern, but I don't want it to stitch the pages together because that would be excuse me, that would just make a giant nightmare of a page to try to, scroll through. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to process the layers, and I'm not going to tile the pages. I'm just going to run it through as it is. So we'll save the output. Okay, we're just going to try again. That's basically what it was LOK Charleston final, right? Oh, girl. And I don't see that we need the word final. So LOK Charleston girl. In the girls there. Yes. All right. Let's generate. Successfully written. There. Now it's shown up. Okay. Not sure what I did wrong that first time. We've got it now. And hey, crazy thing, all of a sudden, we can mark. Cool. So I'm not going to take you through how I normally choose a size to grade. I've got other videos where I talk about that, and we can actually do a video focused on that at another time. But let's just suffice it to say I'm going to need sizes 2 and 4 to grade for my youngest child. So now what I'm going to do is not going to worry about putting pages together. Like I said, you can watch the other video to see how we put pages together. I'm going to focus on the other things that you can do now. So I'm going to choose the projector file, and you can see I've already done what I'm fixing to do, but we will do it anyways. So that's what we're doing, is we're making a file that will be specific to my youngest. Her initial is H, so that's why I called it H stitched. I'm just going to change this up a little bit so that it will save correctly with a different name. So the LK Charleston Girl Projector H stitched. And if you've seen my women files, you know that they are nice and neat. My girls files are a mess. So I will be working on that in a future video, actually. Okay, so we do want to process layers. We don't need to tile pages. That's honestly, clicking that or not clicking that is neither here nor there because we've only got one page to work with. So the tile pages options are now in this second tab at the top. And again, I'm not going to do anything right here right now because I've got my one solid page already. It's already all one page. And you can watch the other video to show how you input the page range and all of those things. And I will very briefly cover that in a few minutes. But here I do want to add a margin around my final output. I'm going to add 20 inches because I love to have lots of white space. But I didn't have any pages to trim, so I'm not going to worry about that. And then I'm going to go over here to the Layers tab. So I'm actually going to deselect all because I really need layers 2 and 4. And then I also want to make sure I include this do not uncheck because that's going to have important things like this is the front bodice. And then I also want to make sure that my grid calibration is there so I can double check that whenever I go to project this. So those are the 4 things I want to leave checked because those will be the layers in my final output here. That's why I made it specific to the daughter whose initial is H versus, just a general file. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take size 2, and actually here I'm going to go open up this file over here. So we can look at it. So here, whenever you open up a file and it's got all of these layers, it's just kind of a pain to go and turn them all off. Now there is a setting in Adobe that you can change that will basically open a file the same way you left it. So if I closed it right now and reopened it, it would have only these layers checked on. But it can still be quite a pain if you are constantly trying to, for this daughter, I'm going to grade these 2 sizes. For my other daughter, I'm going to grade these other 2 sizes. It gets very frustrating. So it's nice to just have what you need open. So if we look at this file, we can see that there's a lot of dashed lines and they're not very thick. And that makes it kind of hard to show when you're projecting. So what I'm going to do is, so size 2, that's the one that just winked on and off. It's orange. So over here, I'm going to highlight size 2, and I'm going to change the line color to orange because, for me at least, I like to keep it similar so that I can still differentiate. But if I were, say, projecting this onto orange fabric, I could make that line this dark purple. It doesn't matter. You choose whichever color you want to, whatever works best on your fabric. You're projecting onto a black fabric, you choose this bright yellow or this bright green. It's whatever is working for you in your specific project. For me, I like to keep it close to that original color unless I have a good reason to change it. Then I'm going to change the line thickness to 3 because I like to be able to see my line very clearly. And then I could leave it dashed like it was, or change it to solid. I'm just going to change it to solid. It is slightly easier. So I am going to apply to 2. If I told it to apply to checked, it would apply it to all of those layers that are checked, but I don't want that. Now, I'm going to highlight 4. That one was red, so I'll change that to red, but I'm going to leave the line thickness at 3, leave the solid line, and apply to 4. Okay, now I'm going to generate my PDF. And go over here, and you will see the difference. So this was our file a second ago. It had lots and lots of layers to check and uncheck, and it had these dotted lines, etc. Well, now we've only got 4 layers saved, and I can turn off the grid calibration so we can see better. So we've only got 4 layers saved. So it's very easy to click on and off just as we're grading. And it's also solid, bold, easy to see lines. You can even tell the difference from there to there, just how much easier this is to see. Now, I will go ahead and do my markings for my grading and get that ready to go, and then I would be done. I would be able to save it. The other thing is right now, if you notice, let's add my comment tools in. I want to grade this. I'm going to use a connected line here to show where I want to, oh wait, I can't. They've turned all those off. So here, because it's been run through the stitcher, I can use my line and I can say, okay, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. That's the one I meant to click. I can use my lines and I can say, okay, I need it to stop here for that grading, which is not done well at all, but I could fix that if I were going to do this for real. Anyway, that's how I would do this and be able to then work with this pattern to properly grade it and then project it. Close all the tabs and let's not save anything. Thanks. Oh, no. Okay. So, awesome. We've gone through this new tab, layers tab, that has such amazing things you can do with it. Just to kind of show you what the stitcher was originally designed to do, let's look at this over here. So we know we need sizes 2 and 4, and there's a print guide. Okay. We've got sizes 2 and 4. Now it's got all these different print guides, and when you're printing, this is super important, right? You don't want to print more than you have to, but whenever you're projecting, it's sort of silly to try to do that, because honestly, you might as well just have it all there and not have to fuss with it. Now, there are times where maybe it makes sense, but for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and put this whole pattern together for my use. So, Little Lizard King does have a printing layout, which makes it super simple to just follow what's here. So, the smallest page they have is page 59, and the biggest page is 73. I'm sorry, 73. So 59 to 73 is going to be what we need to print. So let's go over here. We're going to open up the girl final. Open that. We're going to save it as, I'm just going to write Charleston Stitched. And so 73 is that biggest none, and 59 is what we said was the smallest page we needed. And this time we are going to tile the pages. We want that to happen. So if we go to the Tile Pages tab, we can just look over here, and it tells us 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. And then I'm going to leave the number of rows blank because it will figure that out on its own. But if you want to type it in, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4 There's 4 there. All right. We want it to put it together in rows then columns. So again, looking at this print guide, that means we're going to go across the row and then go to the next row. Just like when you read, we're going to start at the left, go across the row, and then come back to the front like a typewriter and go across the left, from the left, across, and then go down. So we want it to go rows then columns, left to right, top to bottom. That's exactly how we want it to go. If you have a pattern that is put together differently, then you can change these. Columns then rows, right to left, bottom to top. However it fits the way that pattern is supposed to go together. Also, if your page needs to rotate in any way before it's put together, you can do it there. And then so I'm going to leave my margin there. And then you can tell it to overlap or trim the pages. So Little Lizard King, their pages, here, let's go to the very bottom to see. Their pages just butt up to each other, so you don't have anything to trim off. But if you did, you would tell it here how much to take off. And we can do the same thing with the layers. We could go ahead and choose only the layers that we want, change the line thickness and all of that sort of thing, or we could leave them all there. And in fact, if we wanted to, we could tell it that we want to keep all of this, all of these sizes, all these layers, and we don't want to change any colors. We unchecked that. But we do want to make the thickness for all of them 3 points and make them all solid lines. So we'll just apply, actually we'll uncheck that. We'll apply to checked, and then we'll check that back because we do want that included in our final output. All right, so we will generate our PDF now. And then we can go over here and find that file and look at it. So now we've got it where it is just our final big put together pattern. All of our layers are there. We can turn them on and off. And they're all solid lines and easy to see. Okay. Not all patterns have this handy dandy printing layout. And many patterns do have an overlap there. Now, all of that is shown on the other tutorial, so I'm not going to go over that again. But I do want to tell you there is an added resource, and I'll put this in the description box, in the Projectors for Sewing group, which will show you what other people have done. So if someone else has already put together a pattern that you're trying to put together, you can look there first and see what margins worked for them, see what page layout worked for them, especially if it's a kind of a tricky one. So I will make sure that link is in the description box. That is a great resource. All right, guys. That is all of the wonderful things we can do with the PDF Stitcher, especially if you combine those two tutorials together. You will be able to use virtually any pattern as a projector file, which is just amazing. If you are a designer and you're wondering how to make your file where your customers don't have to go through all this, my friend Kathleen, Charlotte is the one that did PDF Stitcher. Kathleen is the designer at Sunny Mountain Patterns, and she has created a course for that.
All right, guys, I hope that was helpful to you. I hope you now know how to use all the amazing new features on PDF Stitcher. And I am so excited about all these new things. I've already played with it with several patterns, and it's just awesome. If you would like to thank Charlotte for all her hard work, there's a link in the description box for a PayPal link where you can send her just a few dollars for thanks. If you want to hear more about what she has to say about PDF Stitcher, my friend Kathleen and I interviewed her on our podcast, the Small Business Sewing Podcast, which you can subscribe to up here. We went into a little more detail about how we can use programs like the PDF Stitcher to solve our everyday sewing problems. And so if you are a programmer, sorry, stumbled over that word. If you are a programmer and that's something that you want to think about, give that a listen. And I have a few ideas too. I mean, if you're just looking for ideas to sell. And so we really appreciate you watching the podcast as well. There are lots of links in the description box to where you can find that on podcasting platforms. And I hope to see you over there too.
Keep watching my videos, like, subscribe, and comment.